Cooper. Cooper with a great chance. Cooper must make it 4. He does.
These were the pre-game scenes at Pittodrie last night as the sun set over the northeast. Once again, a magnificent display by the fans and everybody involved who has put in an incredible effort to lift the atmosphere at Pittodrie this season. Unfortunately, all the hard work done off the pitch was not particularly replicated on the pitch, as Aberdeen succumbed to another heavy and bemusing defeat against Celtic. But it means this: avoid defeat against Dundee United, we will finish 4th. European football is now guaranteed, with results going our way. But the post-mortem has already begun. The newspapers, the headlines this morning across Scotland, look at that one just to the left. It's stress rehearsal for Dons. A very cleverly thought out headline, which for me sums up what was last night's performance. Thanks to @Dons Collector for putting that together for me as always. So here we are again. Another review show and another head scratching moment. You probably saw how angry I was on Monday. I'm not going to be as angry as I was tonight because I'm not going to waste my energy on it. I've thought long and hard about what to say on tonight's show. And this is what I'm going to say. There are too many currently in that team who I don't think have the heart. I don't think they're up for a fight. And I don't think that's acceptable. It was, again, not just embarrassing, it was depressing. Why can't we defend? I just don't understand why we can't defend. For Celtic last night, considering the amount of changes that they made, we should have made life so much more difficult for them. Yet we didn't. We offered them a training session. I don't think they even broke sweat last night, Celtic. Apart from a 15-minute spell after the medical incident, where thankfully the person who was involved is absolutely fine after careful medical attention last night. And thank you to everybody that got involved to help make sure that the person was okay. At the end of the day, look, that's the most important thing, is that the person is okay. Forget football. So that was a positive. But after that medical break, I was like, oh, hang on. This could be interesting. And then once again, we fall off a cliff. What I don't get is the manager comes out on Sunday after that second half debacle against Rangers and pinpoints our issues and our problems and says that we have to do better. So I know they don't have a great deal of time to work on the training pitch with it. I get that. But he's pinpointed these issues. So what I thought to myself last night was I'm hoping that these issues have been eradicated. Did you see any evidence of it being eradicated? Because I certainly didn't. I'm watching them, once again, very much like Rangers, go round us and through us. And our players are far too far apart. Celtic players are just slipping into gaps, into spaces that we're creating for them. And it's so easy for them just to pick out a pass and then play through us. I just don't get it. Now, I mean this with the greatest of respect to the captain. And I'm a huge fan of Graham Shinnie. But last night, unfortunately, James Forrest was all over him. So it was crying out for a change. And at half-time, I thought to myself, what I'm hoping he's going to do one or two things. He's either going to hook the skipper, and he's going to put Jack McKenzie on, or he'll bring on Nicky Devlin to right back and shift Alexander Jensen over to left back. The skipper comes out for the second half, and I'm like, really? And then within minutes, you saw what happened. And then eventually he gets hooked. Now, what I don't get is that everybody that I've spoken to today and all the reactions that I get today have all seen this. Everybody saw it. Why can't the manager? Why can't he change it when it is blatantly obvious that it's not going according to plan? I thought his approach last night was actually quite brave. And I thought, I don't mind this. I don't mind having a wee go. This is good. But it was quite clear after a wee while that it wasn't going to work. So then it needed to change again. The first goal, we can argue about whether Toppy's shirt was being pulled or not. It was being pulled. Look, it was most definitely being pulled. But was it enough to give a foul? My issue with that goal is that we've got two players to their one, and he's out-muscled both of them to effectively get a free header in. I don't get it. Why is Kevin Nisbet marking one of their tallest players and one of their strongest players alongside Toppy? Again, you have to forgive me because I'm using my own experiences when I used to get coached when I played in central defence. We were coached. Whatever you do not get out-muscled by your immediate opponent. You do everything that you can to make sure you don't get out-muscled. You have to win that ball, no matter what. Put your life on the line to do it. I just don't see it with this current crop of players. It's not in evidence for me, and it worries me. It worries me for the cup final. I know the cup final will be a completely different game. It will be a completely different game. Brendan Rodgers was absolutely right that last night's game will have no relevance to the cup final whatsoever. What I'm worried about is the psychological damage it's done to us. So there's no point getting angry. Why, I'm just watching it last night thinking, I think I want to turn off. And I've never done that with my team. Never have I wanted to turn the TV off. But last night, I tinkered with the idea of going, I give up. I just give up. But I stuck with it. And it just made me even more depressed. Oh, man. Anyway, there was some good news to come out of the football club today. That this young chap has signed a pre-contract with us from Western Sydney Wanderers, and he has said this, Nicholas Milanovic. I'm really excited to join Aberdeen. I'm eager to test myself in a new environment and contribute to the team's desire to deliver success. I can't wait to get started at Pittodrie and be part of the manager's long-term plans. Welcome, lad. Don't forget, ABTV is brought to you by Saltire Energy, the market leader in drilling equipment rental. But not just that, they offer a wide range of services to the oil and gas industries, with offices based in Aberdeen, the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Okay, I'm going to give you the match stats. I didn't want to, but I'm going to, because I want to put it into context about, again, how poor it was last night. So look at their shots compared to ours, more than half. 25 shots in total to our 12. They had 14 shots on target to our 4. We only forced their goalkeeper to make 3 saves, and thank goodness Dimitar Mitov was on form last night, because otherwise it could have been an awful lot worse. He was forced into making 7 saves last night. But look at the touches inside the 18-yard box. They had 50 touches inside our box. 50! I think that's the highest this season. We managed 20 inside their box. This is what the manager said after the game.
Of course, it was difficult to lose 5-1 at home at Petardry. We talked with the players, with each other in the after-game management team, and we know it's not acceptable to lose, even if Celtic was really sharp and good when they arrived to our box. But it's something we have to not can happen again in the future, and we need to work really hard now in the summer and prepare ourselves to be better in these kind of games. The fans push us, and even after the game they were here and tried to give standing up for the important game on Saturday and then the United, so that's where our focus had to be now.
Once again, he didn't look overly happy, did he? And let me also remind you that ABTV is also brought to you by Craig International, where the future of global procurement is very much at the forefront of their business strategy. They've got 10 offices strategically placed all over the world to serve just about every corner of the globe. Procurement is very much safe in their hands. So if you're in the Middle East, what I suggest you do is check out their brand new website, where it gives you all the information about their procurement services, not just in the Middle East, in Canada, in America, back home in Aberdeen, on the European continent, and they also serve Australia, where business currently is absolutely booming. Right. What am I doing? Right. I'm going to get you on. Okay. Oh my goodness. Right, lots of you on. Right, hang on. Just let me sort out this. Right, where's that bar? There it is. Let me drag that to the top. Come on, up you go. Right, there we go. Kaiser's on. First of all the best to the fan that became unwell at the match. Hopefully he's on the mend now. And as we mentioned, he very much is. So thank goodness he is. Kaiser's asking, I want to ask everybody, do we look like a well-coached team? That's a question that Kaiser's posing you tonight. Paul Hannon says, like Kaiser, I hope the fan that fell ill is okay, and a big well done to both teams, both medical teams, for rushing over to help. Hear, hear, Paul. Steve Williamson says, honestly, I don't know what this team could possibly do to even lay a glove on Celtic in the final, but you just never know. We will be there in red and in numbers. Paul Hannon came back to say he also wants to ask, does anybody know what the boss sees in Pape? He's useless, apart from losing the ball or going on heavy. Can't believe how gutless we were against a second-string Celtic team. Barry Cole says, good evening. After another shocking second half against a second team, only players worth mentioning are Clarkson, Toppy and Pape. The rest did very little. He says Jensen is far too lightweight for the Scottish game. He might be better used as a winger. Alan Nicholl says, we look like a team that hasn't got a clue what they're supposed to be doing. Neil's on, wishing you a good evening. Barry came back to say we need a left and right back, a striker or two, and a defensive midfielder. John Bleasdale's here. Hi, John. All I wanted last night was some kind of encouragement that we had learned from the nightmare on Sunday. It's quite clear we didn't. Very alarming ahead of the cup final. Robin the Bold says St Mirren, since the split, have won 2 and drawn 2. They seem to know what they're doing. Kaiser said, last season we finished the campaign with 48 points. Currently, we're on 53. That's only 5 points better off. Progress. I'll take my tongue out my cheek. Simon Roy says, good evening, Ali and fellow dandies. What can I say? Are we learning and improving? Because I see no progression. Kaiser's asking, what happened to the high-pressed, fast-attacking football we were promised? Cameron Young is here. That was an absolute shocker of a game last night. We've absolutely got to beat Dundee United on Saturday and we'll qualify for European qualifications. Yimmy must change team for the next 2 games. So look, we've already qualified for European qualifications. That's a cert, which is a huge positive, let's be honest. And all we need to do is just avoid defeat against Dundee United and we will finish 4th. Simon Roy says JT needs to speak to Peter Leven about the Scottish game and formations because we have no plan B to change the game. Barry Cole said, let's hope we get a result against Dundee United. Neil Sinclair's on asking you how you're all doing. Angela Hamilton is here. Hope everyone is good, she says. Really not sure what to say about last night. Oh, don't we all, Angela? Paul Donaldson says, I've seen a lot of people using the word mentality in the past 24 hours. Our players surely have the technical ability, otherwise they wouldn't be playing as professional players. He comes back to say, but when it comes to mentality, I don't know what can be done. Does the club need to invest in sports psychologists as these collapses against the old firm keep happening over and over again? David Scott says it was so depressing watching that last night. Xander Moore, he's not happy. He says, absolutely disgusting performance last night. I'm not Yimmy out, but I'm not going to defend him anymore. We've done a good win and been pumped twice in a week. These players have no fight and they have no heart. Kaiser says, we've got absolutely no bite in the middle of the park and yet Talleen can't seem to see it. Graham Gibbs says, we've got 2 games to go. We need to try something different. Please. Peter Byrne says, we're an absolute mess at the moment. If we play like that in the cup final, it could get embarrassing. David Horn is wishing you a good evening. He said, these second half capitulations are doing my head in. Sooner this season is over, the better. Ian Buchan says, I'm baffled why we can't get some sort of result against Celtic, especially last night when they had a B team out. Kind of glad I can't get to Hampden as I'm on holiday if we play like that. John Moore says, 3 really bad results on the bounce can see us folding against United and losing 4th. As for the cup final, oh my God, it's scary to even think about it. Jack Bruce says, embarrassing again. Simon Roy says, we need to play with 2 up top because we create nothing and have lack of shots and Nisbet having to sit deep. Lewis Sutherland says, we seem to be very light in defence and midfield. Players are too easily knocked off the ball. There is not enough passion and fight in this squad. Which appears to be the general consensus among nearly all of you tonight. That you're so worried about the spirit, the lack of it, the passion, the fight, the heart, the desire. Said it time and time again on this programme. I think it's lacking. I think it's missing. I don't think we have it. Scott Matthews said, we need somebody tough in the spine of the team. We're too weak, pushed off the ball and out our stride. Ashmack77 says, gutless. Cup final next weekend and the buzz for it is completely gone, but at least it will be a day out. You know, Greg Gibb makes a point which I was reiterating earlier. First 3 goals came from Forrest bursting past Shinnie. We got 1 or 2 warnings. The problem was quite obvious to see. We did nothing to stop him. Bruce Strother says, shocker last night. Jensen, Knuster, Dorrington, all been good since Christmas, but all had a shocker last night. Again, a lot of you are talking about, you know, the lack of cover for Graham Shinnie last night. The problem with that was that our central defenders were getting pulled out and leaving gaps for the Celtic forwards and supporting midfield players to run into. And that's exactly how we lost the second goal. which came at a terrible time. Ryan Ellington says, good evening, Ali and fellow dandies. What an absolute shocking result. I've got no words to describe it. I'm absolutely raging. Bruce Struthers said, Celtic reserves gave us a doing. The players should be ashamed. Bruce Struthers came back to say, psychological damage to us fans, Ali. Yep. DIY Dougie makes a very interesting point, and I don't know, this was brought up the other night from the brilliant guys on Here We Go. You know, the Here We Go guys on X, who are absolutely brilliant with all their stats. Great bunch of guys. He says Jimmy's league record is now identical to Barry Robson's. John Moore says we had desire, togetherness and team spirit at the beginning. Then the horrible run comes. Think we're back on track recently. Then it's awful all over again. Deja vu. We just don't learn. Adam Stewart says, there were some good moments. I thought Clarkson was good and Milne did well after he came on. However, although we can compete at times during the match, dire defending continually lets us down. Yep. Exactly, mate. Scott Bowie says, I mean, Celtic could have scored from every corner taken last night. Zonal marking is killing us. James Brown said, depressing stuff, Ali. My wife's always asking me, why do I torture myself? Even worse when I get up at 3:45 a.m. to watch a midday kickoff over here. That's 4 a.m. in Seattle. "11 goals shipped in the last 3 games," Kaiser says. Right. So many comments. I'm not sure I'm going to get through all of them, guys. Oh, you guys are not happy. Dearie, dearie me. Really not happy. Right. Just let me drag this in. There's a couple of things I just need to drag in just before we carry on. Bear with me, please. Right, we need that. What was the other thing that I needed? Oh, aye. Right, where are you? That. And one last item to drag in to the timeline, which is way down there. There it is. Okay. Let's have some positivity. Okay, on this day in the club's football history. On this day back in 2022, Aberdeen legend Andrew Considine played his final game for the Dons 18 years after making his first team competitive debut. Andrew played 571 games for the club, scoring 41 goals. And on this day, back in 1977, another Aberdeen legend, but this time Jim Leighton, made his first team debut for the Dons in a friendly game in Yugoslavia against DFK Kikinda. We lost the game 2-1. What was interesting about that is that Bobby Clark was injured and John Gardner, who was the reserve goalkeeper, the backup goalkeeper, he couldn't travel to Yugoslavia because his passport had ran out. Hence why Jim took his place in between the sticks on this day back in 1977. ABTV is delighted to announce a new sponsorship deal with Quipco International, a manufacturing and repair service company serving the oil and gas industry. Their headquarters are in Abu Dhabi, which makes them perfectly placed to offer a number of services and products to the Middle East and beyond. Right, guys, we are exactly 1 week away from what will be an incredible night at the Music Hall. The legends return to recall the last time we won the Scottish Cup. We're going to make it a pre-Scottish Cup final party. Brian Irvine, Theo Schnelders, the skipper, and for the first time since their playing days, Hans Heelhuis and Charlie Nicholas will be back together. They're all sharing the stage. It's going to be a brilliant night, and I really hope you can make it along. I cannot wait. Flying in on Wednesday. The gig is on the Thursday night. A week tonight. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed the show, I know it's been tough again, but thank you for your comments. Don't forget to like it. And as I keep saying, don't forget to subscribe as well to the channel. We're building nicely. We've picked up a few subscribers over the past few days. Just keep them coming. We're now edging towards 4,400. So thank you for your continued support. Right, let's get back to your comments. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I'll try and get through as many as I can. Let me come down to the bottom. Let's see what's going on. Duncan Wright says, got my new top today. That cheered me up. Wearing that top, the North Sea kit, on Saturday against Dundee United. Alexander Jameson says, Levine got a tune out of the players at the end of last season, including a draw at Pittodrie and the Scottish Cup semi-final performance. Stanley Roddy says, I'm starting to get a bit concerned about next season. Never mind the final. Nicola Beaton says, hi Nicola, he's making so many changes. He doesn't seem to have a settled team. Is he trying to keep everybody happy? 6 changes to the team that lost to Rangers. 6? I must admit, I didn't have an issue with it because I thought it actually was the right call. But again, it's a lot of changes, isn't it? Michael Watson said, teams now know how Aberdeen are going to play, but I worry that Tallinn is not learning the same lessons against our opponents. Duncan Wright says, perhaps not having enough time between games to work on things, but at this time of the season that should be in place and clutching at straws for an excuse. Embarrassed and disappointed at the moment. Al Hay says, on paper, a cup semi-final, a cup final, qualifying for Europe, it sounds like a great season, but it's been so frustrating, and I have to be honest, he says he can't wait for it to end. John Moore said, I would love to see more passion from the sidelines. JT is a statue most of the time. Want to see him shout at the players when they're not doing what they should be doing. You see, I get that, but I just think that's his style. It's just his style. I must admit, I'd like to see a bit more passion from him, but if that's his style, that's what it is. Neom says, a real captain and a leader, a shouter is what's needed. Kevin Tom says, last night was absolutely awful. Played a second-rate Celtic team and couldn't even raise our game and win that. Players too soft, easily pushed off the ball, dreading the final. John Bleasdale come back to say we need a proper creative midfielder and a proper holding midfielder. Most of our central midfielders are too similar and lightweight. So, Kaiser, brilliant. So, I was chatting on with my pal Steve McCarty, who's the joint managing director of Craig International, who sponsored me. I was chatting on with him earlier today, and I said to him for a giggle, the only way we're going to win this cup final is if we put Dimitar Mitov in goal and then play 10 at the back, and hopefully we might get to penalties. Kaiser said, in the final, our best chance is to play 11 on the goal line and get to a penalty shootout. Oh, God. Isn't it so depressing that we're just saying stuff like this? Oh, dear. At least some of us still have a sense of humour. Oh, I'm going to finish by having a giggle. Come on, let's finish it by having a laugh. Oh, God. Right, we'll be back tomorrow previewing the Dundee United game, our final game of the season. I'm going to be joined by Glenn Cairns, who used to be the club's videographer. He is a videographer by profession, and he has just been made a Aberdeen Community Trust ambassador. He was the chap that sold many, many prints of the Northern Lights, which were captured over the top of Pittodrie, called it the Heavenly Dancers, and raised something like £25,000 for the Community Trust. So I've got an extended interview with him about his new role, about capturing that shot, which I'll bring to you tomorrow. So I really hope you can join us. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, I know it's been another difficult watch, another depressing show, but thank you for your continued support. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Oh no, don't do that, Ali. A guy from Sky Sports used to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Night, 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 night.